Today is officially our last day of Whole 30, so pretty stoked about that.
Yeah, I've been counting down the days since we started 30 days ago.
Since like day 29, or day 2.
Yeah, so for those that don't know Whole 30, why don't you give us the crash course of what we've been suffering through for the last 30 days?
Yeah, so I'm probably going to butcher it a little bit as far as the technical definition, but basically it's paleo on steroids. So it's no processed foods, no like sugars, no carbs, except for fruit. So, but we can't have rice or grains or juices or anything like that. So just a lot of healthy meats and vegetables and fruits, and that's about it. So Matt's missing his ice cream and basically his normal diet.
Yeah, my normal diet of ice cream. I like my breads, my simple
Cereal.
cereal. It's very simple and easy in the morning.
Yeah.
The alcohol, I think, is what has shocked a lot of our friends during this COVID shutdown.
Yeah.
That seems to be a staple for a number of people that we've been talking to. A lot of people are sharing. They don't know how we're surviving through this COVID shutdown without the alcohol. That's actually not been the biggest challenge.
No, and honestly, the reason I wanted to do it during the shutdown or the lockdown, whatever you want to call it, is because I don't know if I'm like anyone else, but I'm working from home and I just kept finding myself in front of the pantry. For no apparent reason. Didn't matter if I'd eaten 5 minutes ago, 5 hours ago, just kept ending up in front of the pantry. So I didn't want to gain the COVID-19. So that was kind of my inspiration, but I am definitely looking forward to a glass of wine tomorrow night.
Yeah, and good news is we both have shed some weight from all of this.
Yep.
I had no expectation of shedding weight. I think I lost about 12 pounds or so.
Yeah.
And Brenna, you had some success with it as well.
Yeah, about 10 pounds. So
yeah.
At least it's worth it on that side.
Hopefully it's not the yo-yo back for us once I start consuming all of the ice cream again.
Yeah, totally.
For me, kind of good news is I'm finally getting my hair cut on Friday and I can limit this Seth Rogen do that I have going on.
I think this is the first time you haven't worn a hat in like 2 weeks.
It's been longer than that, yeah. The hat has become a staple of my wardrobe, mostly because the hair gets so curly and there's a in-between phase where it looks really bad, and I'm kind of in that phase right now. So getting my hair cut Friday, I'll be back to my normal look. Excited about that. Other big news in our world, little man has started walking.
Yeah.
Actually, he started taking some steps, so he's up to about 17 steps.
Yeah, now that we're counting, but yes.
We're definitely competitive in counting.
Yeah, about a week ago, he took a couple steps and I was like, oh, it'll be a while, no big deal. And that's not the case. He now loves it and falls down, gets right back up, falls down, gets right back up, and just wants to keep trying. So that's pretty cool to see. And as many of my wise mamas have told me, my life is about to change. So we've already done some baby proofing, but obviously we'll have to go next level with it because not only is he now walking, he is also a climber. So say a little prayer for us on that.
Yeah, so we did find out the stove has a security setting.
Yep.
So if he starts messing around with it, it's not going to turn the stove on and burn the house down, which is really a positive. Yeah, we kind of like the house.
Yeah.
So now as we jump into real estate and the market, there's some things I think we were expecting to see and some things maybe we didn't expect to see. So as far as our real estate market here in the Denver metro area, well, before we jump there, let's back up. Again, for those that don't know you, why don't you give an introduction as to who you are work-wise?
Okay.
So that folks know just kind of what qualifies you to provide some of the information.
Yeah, so I am Brenna Harper with Land Title Guarantee Company. So we are a title closing and insurance company. So we pull stats for the greater metro Denver area, the 7 major counties. every month, just to give you an update on what's going on in the market, and kind of what to expect, what we've seen, different trends and things like that. So our clients and the general public can be the educated, and the agents especially can really be those real estate experts to help guide you through the biggest transaction of your life. So we've been doing this kind of monthly as an update. Last month we did the update, and we were right in the middle of our stay at home. But so we're talking about April numbers today. So last month we were talking about March. So everything looked fine. It looked hunky-dory, but we knew what we were in the middle of. And so everyone's kind of been waiting on these April numbers, like what's happening, what's going on. A lot of question on that. So, like you were mentioning, some of the stuff we expected, and then there was also some promising things. So I'll kind of just go through a rundown. As far as the things that we expected, listings are down 16.39% year over year. So obviously not as many people are wanting to sell their homes, because up until April 27th, you were not allowed to show homes for about a month, 3 weeks.
It was interesting, the information came out and it was, hey, you can't do anything, to no, you're still considered an essential business, to no, here's what this looks like. So it was really a roller coaster of what are we allowed to do, what aren't we allowed to do. And it was really clear, I think, the last 2 weeks that the, no in-person showings, and that was the information that they finally came out and said. So that was hugely helpful, just to have the standard of, hey, here's what you can do, here's what you can't do. But.
Yep. So that just over 5,900 homes listed puts us just over 1 month supply of inventory. So like we've talked about before, depending on where exactly you look, in that 4 to 6 month mark would be a balanced market. So obviously with these numbers, 1-2 months extreme sellers market. So pretty much what we expected. The pending or under contract number was down 48%. Which is obviously huge. And some of that because under contract follows listings. So that one was huge because it had a little bit more time from March. So people were starting to pull listings in March. We saw maybe a little bit of that. So that number is really reflected. And then closed or sold homes down 25%. So those all kind of make sense if you think about it, what the state of what's going on. People not wanting to be out of their house, only a lot more people buying and selling out of necessity versus want. But there were some promising things. So sales price is actually up year over year. So in detached or homes that like single family homes, not townhomes or condos, was up 0.1%. And then attached is up 2.7. So I think that's important. A lot of people are asking, what's the value of my house going to do? What's my equity going to do? Is it a good time to sell? Is it a good time to buy? So that is promising that in spite of a pandemic, we're still up year over year. Obviously 0.1%, not huge, but I'd rather it go that way than any way in the opposite. So we see that as a positive for sure.
I think a lot of folks are fearful that we're going to see what happened in 2008 happen again, and that homes are going to just plummet. We're going to see short sales and foreclosures coming again. Foreclosure is probably a real possibility depending on the folks in their job situation. When you have lost income, that leads to it. But as far as values, we're not seeing the values plummet like we did then.
No.
What caused the housing collapse here about 12 years ago is not the information that we're seeing right now.
Right.
Really, one of the leading indicators for the shifting market is the number of showings. When the number of showings dramatically drop off, the real estate market starts to see a trend and a shift downwards. Now, there was some really interesting news, and I don't think it surprised us necessarily, other than just the large aspect there of the numbers. So what did the company research, and what did you see for showings in particular during the last 45 days roughly?
Yeah, so April 20th, so the week before the Safer at Home order went into place, which allowed for showings on April 27th, in 11 Metro Denver counties, there were 1,600 showings for the whole week. So obviously that's really low.
And that's the final week of the stay at home. You're not allowed to go anywhere. And those 1,600 showings were after the property went under contract. Real estate agents, following the rules, following the laws, they're getting under contract before they're going to go see the property during their inspection period. So obviously a dramatic reduction there from what it normally would have been. But what did we see after?
So that next week, starting April 27th, we saw 23,600 and a few homes showed. So obviously there was some pent-up demand, but that is a massive increase and a great leading indicator for what we're going to continue to see, because obviously people were following the rules and they're taking it seriously. But now that we have, and I'll let you speak to it in a minute about some of the rules that are still in place for showings, but that's a massive number. So then we were like, okay, well, that's a massive number, but maybe that's just because everyone's been waiting to see these homes. Well, last week, May 4th, we saw 24,700. So almost exactly 1,000 more showings than the week before. So another big number, and we're still increasing. So yes, a little bit of pent-up demand still, but it wasn't like, oh, it went up to 25, 24, and then back down to 12, because there just wasn't enough for people to see. So people are out there, they're looking at homes, they're ready to buy, and that's promising, I think.
Yeah, so again, I think as we're getting into that, I think consumer confidence is up for the most part, that people want to be out and about. They're feeling confident that they can afford to get into that home that they were looking for. They're not as concerned about the impact potentially for their job. And again, this is as a whole, not segmented down for everybody feels this way, but this is consumer confidence as a whole. So that's a good sign. The restrictions in what's happening in the with the real estate is that, one, we've got to have masks and gloves available pretty much anytime I'm at a property. Was stopping by a property earlier today to put a sign in a lockbox, gloves, face mask on, had a good conversation through the face mask with the seller as this house is getting ready to come up on the market. But another big thing is the requirement to clean and disinfect between every showing. Yep. So this is something that is being taken very serious, and they're being sensitive to what the consumer needs to see or have in order to feel healthy with everything that's going on. So it can still be done. It's done under strict guidelines for the showings.
They're also they're suggesting 2 to 3 people in the home at a time. So
really just
can't bring everyone and your mother.
Yeah, limiting really to decision makers. If it's a spouse, there's 2 folks that are buying. You and I are looking to buy a house. We're going to go see. Yep. We're not bringing our son. We're not bringing our parents. We're not bringing other folks that might be attached to it or would want to see it. We're going to limit that. And there's no overlapping showings either, which is making it interesting just from a scheduling perspective. So technology has really been our friend through a lot of this, with some cool technology like the 3D Matterport, which basically creates a video game tour of the home. So you can look up, down, do a 360. You can go really at your pace with it.
Yeah, very
cool.
What
else are you seeing? Are you hoping for, looking for out of the market as we move forward? Now, again, I'm not looking for projections as to what the market will be. We don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
But just curious what you're looking forward to seeing the numbers for moving forward.
Yeah, I think something else promising as far as April numbers is that our days on market was down 35% year over year. So obviously there were less listings, there were less sold, but the people that were out were serious. So I think that's a really great sign. But obviously, as we mentioned with the showings, that's a leading indicator. So people are out there looking. I've talked to you, I've talked to a few other agents and just people in the industry, and the market has picked up. People are seeing multiple offers, lots of interest in these properties. So from the standpoint of a seller, it's like, well, is anyone really wanting to buy homes right now? Well, 24,000 people went looking, or not necessarily 24,000 people, but there's a ton of showings happening. There's a ton of activity. So don't have a crystal ball, but that is a great indicator that we'll continue to see that delayed spring selling season that people have been hopeful for. On the flip side of that, if you're a buyer, interest rates are still low. We've been talking about this for a while. Yeah. So yes, there are more people looking, but it's still a great time because you're getting more for your money. So I think, again, we say this a lot, but everyone's situation is different. So is it a great time? Yes, maybe. But there's some promising things that would lead you to believe that, okay, if your situation allows for it, and if the numbers line up in your scenario, the market is going to support you. So I think that is pretty promising for us, and just, we'll see in another month what happens. So it's uncharted territory for all of us.
Well, again, I think it comes down to the reason that I love going through this with you every month is because it creates the story, right? The numbers always tell a story. What that story is kind of depends on what's happening in the world, right? It's part of the story, not the entire story. Yet, if we're paying attention to the numbers, we know how many buyers are going through and searching in a particular price point in a particular area. So we know what to expect. We can look at the past on some level, look what's currently happened, as to predict what's happening in the future, what we need to do. The collapse that happened in 2008, there were indicators, there was information years before that led up to that. So as we watch the numbers, they're going to tell us, how do we proceed? How do we move forward? What does this look like for our clients? Yep. Because again, I want to go off of what the numbers say. I never want to go off of, well, I feel like it should be this or that. So right. Love having these reviews. And in particular, if there's information, stats, or numbers that you guys want to see, let us know what it is that you want to hear, what you want us to dive into a little bit deeper, because this is information we want to provide for you. And truth be told, I enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully if I hear this saying in this very uncertain time, but in this very uncertain time, we hope that this gives you a little bit of a roadmap. So if it is a good time for you to buy or sell, you know what to expect. You know what that looks like going in, because if you're anything like me, that the uncertainty is the worst part. So hopefully this gives you a little peek into, instead of just what ifing everything. But again, if you have specific questions or just want to know on this or any other real estate topics, we're definitely here to help.
Yeah.